Until the first game, viewers and players have no idea what it means to be eliminated. During red light, green light, any players discovered moving after the giant doll says, red light, will get them shot and killed. The first game is startling because it is the first concrete indication that the players are in danger, and it becomes even more so when over 200 players are shot as they scramble for the exits. Most of the players try to escape as they realize that all the other players are getting shot and killed by a giant doll if they don't follow the rules of the game. When the first player in the first game dies, the other players start to realize that you actually get killed in the game. Because it's the first game in Squid Game, and because of the horrific sight of the huge doll, it's the most iconic game in the series. However, because this is the first game in the series, we know that there will be more to come. This isn't an easy ride, though. It's terrifying to see people being picked off for the tiniest of arm movements. The Midnight Fight. While this isn't technically part of the competition's program of games, it still kind of is. Considered an extra game of sorts, this fight took place at night in the dorm room where the players sleep. Once night came, the lights switched off and an all-out war took place between the players, some of whom had many alliances. Bloody, brutal, mayhem. The fact that the entire incident was played out with the most severe flashing strobe lights I have ever seen further added to the stress. If more players are killed in this scene, it means the prize money will be bigger. The Honeycomb Game. There's less action, but there's more tension in the second game. I knew it was going to be a suspense-filled game as participants tried to delicately prize a shape from a honeycomb biscuit without shattering or breaking the cookies. It was terrible to watch players timidly jab away at the cookies with only a needle, especially those who were stuck with the most difficult shape to complete, an umbrella. Other players chose the easier shapes. Some anxious players fatally snapped parts of their cookie shapes and were killed as a result. Some players used their intelligence to get out of the game, such as one player who uses a lighter to heat a needle and another who continuously licks the cookie away. When one of the players does this, it causes a wild frenzy among the other players, who furiously lick their honeycomb in an attempt to draw out their shape. The game was made even more intense by the fact that it finished with a losing player kidnapping a guard. Player 119 attacks and snatches a staff member's gun after the second game. The other staff members kill the other players in the room who observed this, resulting in yet another high death toll early in the game. Before deciding to murder himself, player 119 compels the staff member he is holding captive to unmask. That is the first time in the games that a suicide has been depicted. The Tug-of-War Game. In the third game they play tug-of-war by pulling a rope on opposite sides of each other, and the team that is the weakest falls and loses the game, which in turn results in more deaths. When the players in the team saw who they were up against, a team of rather strong-looking men and women, I felt the same dread as the players in the team. What follows, though, is a stroke of brilliance. One of the older players instructs his team on the best technique to play tug-of-war, and it works for a while before the opposing team makes a breakthrough and the rope is yanked off the platform. Everything appears to be lost until one of the players comes up with another brilliant idea, and the victory is ultimately theirs. It's a tense game, but because to the wits and tactics displayed by the players' smart minds, makes it one of the most pleasant games. The Marbles Challenge. In the Marble Challenge the players had to choose a partner to play with, which was a tense enough start. Then there was the horrible twist, in which the contestants were pitted against one another. This meant that longtime friends and even a husband and wife were now in a life-or-death situation. During the Marble Challenge more players are killed by the masked staff members. In this scene one of our favorite characters gets betrayed by a player that he bonded with because he was too nice and had too much trust. Many of the characters we had grown attached to died tragically. The death of one of the players, who was just starting to build a relationship, is perhaps the most tragic of these deaths. Rather than playing games, a bargain is made at the last minute to determine who wins. Which is even sadder considering the fact that the player that was given a chance to win later dies. The Glass Stepping Challenge. It was anxious even before the game began since participants had to choose which running order to participate in, and several players were left stranded while deciding whether to go first or last. It was a true conundrum that forced viewers to make decisions just as much as the players did. The game then began, with players having to cross a bridge composed of glass stepping panels. When players tread on the glass, half of it cracks, while the other half remains intact. The suspense built with each player and each glass stepping stone as they struggled to determine which panel to step on. If you make the wrong decision, the glass will shatter and the player will fall to the ground beneath them. I had to hold my breath every time a player jumped onto one of the panels to see what would happen to them. In the final game, two childhood friends play the Squid Game, the show's last game. It's a ferocious and brutal conflict between the two childhood friends with each side seizing the initiative at different times, and it was nerve-shredding seeing who was going to make it through the fight. However, if you've seen Squid Game, you'll know that everything that happened in the program had a cause. Nothing happened by accident. You'll notice a build-up, clues, and even foreshadowing if you look carefully enough. Netflix's Squid Game utterly surprises and even breaks our hearts, as evidenced by the enormous twist at the conclusion that many fans did not see coming, and theories that prove that there is really a game within a game.